How's it going, guys? It's Eclipse here, and today's video we are looking at this weekend's update information regarding what's going to be coming in. We've got a couple of events, and we've got some changes that Wargaming are making to the game, and we're going to have a look at basically all of that. So if you want to stay tuned for that, then make sure to follow along with the video. There will be timestamps in the bottom left as to the various different things for this week, and then we'll get right into it now. So to begin with, we have a tier 10 special earn op, basically, or earn event. You'll be able to earn 100% more silver, so that means it's basically double silver on tier 10. That'll mean that you can basically earn a lot of silver over the course of the weekend. All you have to do in order to actually get the bonus is basically deal at least 500 damage to enemy tanks. You can either then deal 500 spotting assist to damage to enemy tanks, or you can detect 2 or more enemy tanks in a surviving battle. So you just have to complete one of these various different things. So either deal 500 damage, spot 500 damage, or detect 2 and survive the battle. Now, if you do that, you'll get the 100% silver bonus. That would mean that for the majority of players playing at tier 10, if you get 500 damage, which is super easy, let's be honest, that's like one shot of damage for the majority of tanks at tier 10, it will mean that you get this 100% silver. Getting 100% silver at tier 10 means that you'll probably be earning, on average, probably like 80,000, 50 to 80,000 of silver per game if you've got a premium account as well. And I mean, if you have a fantastic game, you could probably be looking in the region of 100,000 to 150,000 if it's a super game in the game. Obviously, that means that you can basically rake in the silver over the course of the weekend, and you'll be able to actually pick up tons of silver. You can purchase yourself another tier 10 should you wish to do that. The event is running from the 14th of May, so that's Friday, all the way until the 18th of May, being the Monday morning, in terms of the British time anyway. It's like 2 a.m. Eastern time and 12 o'clock at Pacific Standard Time, I believe, if I'm right in thinking that. Obviously, let me know in the comment section down below if that's wrong or whatever. But other than that, moving on to the discounted premium tier 10 tanks, we'll do a little overview of each one, whether they're good or not, or which ones you should probably prioritise getting if you have this free XP. Now, with regards to the discounted premium tanks, they are available for free XP. They're not actually purchasable with gold, although indirectly you can purchase them with gold if you convert your XP to free XP and then buy them that way. But we won't get into that. This is literally just an overview of what the tanks are. The first one being the VK7201K. This tank is very, very underwhelming. I think with regards to its armour, it's supposedly this good side scraper, but as soon as you actually side scrape in it, there's this big side bit of the tank which is kind of a weak point, and it really doesn't work very well. You do have the 750 alpha damage, which is really nice on a heavy tank. Kind of plays a little bit like the E100, I guess, in terms of the damage. You got to be opportunistic, poke, take your shot of damage, and then hide again. Use your armor to try and bounce some shots. This thing probably is weaker than the E100 in terms of its armor model, because trying to angle makes this tank worse, and yeah, the lower plate can be penned just like the E100 if they have high alpha. Obviously, the lower plate I think is slightly stronger. But it's definitely an area that can be penned. The turret of the thing is actually not too bad, although it does have a cupola on the top that you can pen. So it's kind of a bit of a trade-off, I guess, as to whether you want to purchase this tank. But we'll get into the actual order of the tanks, which I'd buy them personally in just a second. Obviously, we got the M60 if you manage to come on for 70 days and over the course of like 90 days or whatever it was, and do your daily battles. So if you've already got the tank, yeah, you'll already have it, and you won't need to spend 360,000 free XP, which is a long time. If you play for thousands of battles, you'll probably only just be able to actually get this amount. Probably actually is in the region of like 2, 3, 4, 5,000 battles in order to save up enough free XP to be able to get that, which is ridiculous. But yeah, I guess that's what they're trying to do. They don't want everyone to just get them, and I guess that they want people to pay the gold to be able to purchase them. As far as the M60, it's like a faster pattern. Would I recommend the M60? Probably not. I'd say that actually the M48A1 pattern is just better, the tech tree one. You're also looking at various different things in the game. At tier 10, there's plenty more mediums, and I just don't think the M60 is the best. It does have that mobility, and it does have a really good gun and stuff like that. It kind of looks cool as well, but yeah, not one that I'd say is particularly super overpowered or anything like that. Then moving on for the Object 907, this thing is actually pretty good. This thing gets 320 alpha. It's a bit like a medium. Well, it is technically a medium, but it gets a lot more armor than you would think for a medium tank. It can kind of actually work. The lower plate is a bit of a weak point. Obviously, the cupolas can be penned quite easily if you aim at them properly. You want to aim at the top bit of the cupola, not this kind of rounded bit that's angled. Yeah, this thing can definitely work, and it kind of has to play like the standard Russian medium tanks. DPM kind of sucks, I guess. For a medium tank, you're only looking at like 2,500, I think it is, which isn't awful, don't get me wrong, but it's certainly nothing amazing in the game, and it won't be your DPM monster like the K91 or something very similar to that. But that's, I guess, what you're trading off with the ARM model of the tank. Obviously, really good turret, 228mm of frontal armor that is well angled, and you will be able to bounce quite a few shots, unless you're coming up against like these really high penetration guns like the Jaeger's heat rounds. But then again, anything in the game against the Jaeger's heat rounds pretty much gets penned, so don't be relying on that. As far as paying 360,000 for XP, I mean, if you like your medium tanks, if you like your Russian mediums, this thing is kind of a good one to go for. Moving on, we have the T-22 medium. This is obviously another Russian medium tank. This thing's it's a bit lackluster. It doesn't really have that much of a playstyle. They tried to buff it within one of the most recent updates on World of Tanks console. Kind of did work, kind of didn't at the same time. Basically, the actual rate of fire is terrible. So the DPM on this tank is actually really, really bad. This one is definitely, it's like an amped up 907. You've basically got more armor, but you sacrifice so much in order to get it. And if I was to compare both of them, I would 100% go with the 907, because it's just a better version, in my opinion, of the T-22 medium. So if you haven't got either of them, then definitely go for the 907 first. And I wouldn't really even look at the T-22 medium, to be honest with you. Then coming on to possibly the best tanks with regards to the free XP tanks is the T95 FV21 or FV4201 Chieftain. So this tank is actually really, really good in game. It's crazy. One of the best ones. It's otherwise known as the Valor. Its turret is really, really strong, super strong. So if you get hold down in this thing, it's super hard to get rid of them. You do have like some cupolas, but they are very, very small, really hard to hit, and if they're wiggling around with their turret, it's super hard to hit, and even like the high alpha or high penetration guns find it very hard to go through the turret. The hull armor is fairly weak, but then again, it's actually quite good for a heavy tank, because usually the lower plate is your weak point in this thing. But unfortunately for the people playing against it, it's not quite the case for the majority of time. Obviously, we then have the WZ-111 Quillin. This is another amazing tank, and one that will really push off your games. This thing has really high alpha. It's got like 550 alpha or 500 and something alpha, and that basically means that you're going to be outtrading a lot of the heavy tanks, especially the Russian ones that have 490 alpha. This thing reloads super quick. I think it's in like 9 seconds or something like that, which for a heavy tank is really, really good. Its DPM is quite good. Its armor model is very good. Its speed is good. It's basically like a WZ-111 5A, but just on some form of performance enhancing drug. And that basically makes this thing super, super good in game. And yeah, a really, really good tank. Moving on then is the Object 260. This is Another tank that actually performs really well in game. Once again, it's kind of this heavy medium. Plays really nice in game and certainly has a little bit of armor. It's kind of like a tier 10 defender is kind of what I'd say. It does have the 440 alpha damage, decent penetration on both its standard and premium rounds. Pretty poor rate of fire, to be honest with you. 5 rate of fire rounds a minute. Looking at approximately in the region of 2,200 DPM, which is not awful, but it's not the best. And certainly when you've got 440 alpha at tier 10, you can get out traded quite easily by some of the other heavy tanks at the tier. Turret armor on the thing is actually super strong. Hull armor is actually quite well angled, which means that it's quite hard to hit. Lower plate is kind of a weak point, but then again, it's not actually that much of a weak point because a lot of standard rounds will just bounce off of it. And if you're angling and wiggling, it makes it even harder to hit. Side armor is just troll. If you manage to hit the spaced armor, you're pretty much never going to be able to go through it. And it's a tank that really kind of is quite strong, and you can expect to bounce quite a few shells. Now, as far as which ones I'd choose, personally, I think I would go with the Quillin first, then the Chieftain, then the 260, then we'd move on to the 907, then probably the VK, then the M60, and then the T22 medium being the last one on the list. But hopefully that overview gave you a little idea as to how the tanks play, and we'll move on to the next bit of the video in the form of the other challenges. So with the weekend, usually we get challenges where you can earn emblems. This week is no different. We have the Honor Armed Forces Day with this challenge, and basically what you can get with this one is if you win 3 multiplayer battles, similar to the Mother's Day one last week, you can actually get one of 8 different emblems. They're just random, so it's RNG which one you get. Obviously it's repeatable, so you can continually farm this. Say if you did 30 wins within this weekend, you're going to be able to get 10 emblems. It's available to both Cold War and World War II mode, so that's absolutely fine. You'll be able to do that. Yeah, I think it's a nice addition, and I like them adding in these customizable challenges because it gives you something extra to do if you haven't already ground out the game. Would like to see some more like exclusive camouflage options in the game as well, but unfortunately we don't see that yet. And maybe, just maybe, that'll come. Now, the final thing for this video, obviously the video has been pretty short. We're only at like 13 minutes at the moment, roughly. This one is the post-war silver op, now with more silver. So you know where they last week I covered it in the news that they'd be giving an extra 10% silver in order for people to get a little bit more silver when they're grinding the post-war era mode. They've now increased it to 30%. That will be going on for 12 days, so from the 14th of May, which is a Friday, until the following Monday, I believe. So not the couple days after, but actually the week on Monday. So you've got 12 days to be able to complete it. Going to be really useful for you guys to be able to get some more silver if you are going to play the Cold War mode. Personally, I'm not playing it, so it doesn't really affect me, and I'm probably won't make me play the game. I feel like they're trying to incentivize people to play the Cold War game mode, maybe because people just are avoiding it. I don't know. But it seems like, I guess, that's what they're trying to go for here, as well as try and appease players to actually play the game, because I think the silver drain on their accounts has been horrible with this new Cold War game mode, and I think that they got the silver economy completely wrong with regards to that. As for the final bit of the video, I guess what we will be doing is just giving a little discussion as to how this kind of post-war silver op and the whole drain on the silver economy has kind of really impacted the player base. I think that for the most part, a lot of people have actually decided to avoid the Cold War game mode completely. I think that the majority of the player base are probably actually playing the standard World War II mode. I mean, that was kind of expected because that's what the core game is. If you change something, probably not going to get as much reception towards that, and in fact you might end up actually losing players. I know from what your comments have been is that a few people have actually left the game because of this update and because of the whole development into this kind of stuff, and hopefully those of you that watch this video, well, I just hope that you continue to play the game, because sometimes the developer, you can't really help who develops the game unless they decide to give it up, which is very unlikely for wargaming, considering it's a bit of a cash cow for them anyway. But hopefully we'll be getting some good decisions. I know that personally I'm just waiting to get a computer to try out some PC content and stuff in the future. We're going to be basically doing some cool things on the channel, and I hope that you stick around. Obviously, if you want to subscribe, then do so down below if you aren't already. If you want to watch some other content, there will be some on screen right now. But as for the rest of the weekend, I hope you have a great one, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Goodbye.